Good morning. Welcome to Bars and Bells. My name is Ian, and Lauren has transitioned to, Lauren. She's downstairs painting. It's just me for today, but we'll be back together next week. So hello, welcome. This is Bars and Bells and Restore and Recharge at the bar or at the chair. Grab a balance aid, maybe even a chair to start our workout today from seated. Talk to the hips, talk to the core, work on those feet, balance, strength, you name it. Use the chat feature, let me know what's up with you through the workout, or write us an email to tell us about your day's practice. Let's start by start in our seated position. Nice and tall in this sit. From here, how are you sitting? I'll do 1/4 turn, and let's check out the seated posture for today. With the feet flat on the floor, could you oversell the slumpiness of sitting down? Then by pulling the feet into the ground, imagine pulling the heels to touch your bum, pull on the floor to tip the hips, and perhaps press the chest forward. Hold this tension, then relax, and let it go back towards more of that slump. Continue these active sitting drills as you press the feet into the floor, pull the heels back, and contribute to that moderate anterior tip or tailbone towards the back shape. Then let it relax and slump. For the final time, pull those femur heads in, sit up nice and tall. Adjust the chair maybe here. From here, with those femur heads sitting in nice and tall, could you lift a single foot away from the floor? Make it hard. Use those hip flexors and pull the leg towards center. And then rest with the foot on the floor. Same thing other side. Draw the knee in towards the midline. Pretend to lift the foot first. And when you do, are you able to maintain the shape of the hips as you return the foot to the floor? These hip flexors of mine are cramping up. I hope yours are too in a safe way. Let's repeat that one more time. Of pulling the knee towards the midline and then away from the floor, keeping the tailbone back and feel the polite crampiness on the front of the hip, and relax the foot to the floor, and then draw the knee in, pull it up, breathe, create tension across the hip flexors, and return the foot to the floor. We'll come back to seated in a second, but let's stand. Push your feet out, core tension, and here we are at our tall stand. We'll get to the head and the rib cage here, taking it through the gentle versions of our theme park exercises. At first, let's do our roller coaster. At the head neck, we could look up. At the head neck, we could flex or down. Reset your head on the horizon, and let's repeat that exercise, adding on. We can also push the face forward and then retract or pull the ears towards over the shoulders. If we do all that together, let's join on the roller coaster as we start with our chin tuck down, then face forward from there. Forward and up into our extension shape up at the ceiling, and then pull the crown high to do that shape one more. The crown of head high, the chin towards low, and then gently pushing the face forward at the neck. Then extension to the ceiling, return the crown of head high, looking on the horizon. Let's reverse that shape. It's extension first, or looking up, and then from up, look towards forward. The chin gets towards the sternum or the rib cage, and then up. And one last effort here as we extend to the ceiling, and then gently reaching forward or protracting on that neck. Tuck a chin, and resume your gaze looking at the horizon out front. Let's repeat those same actions through the rib cage. The rib cage, with the shoulder blades retracted, can flex or round on the hips, and then extend away. One more time. Safe, easy flexion shapes, keeping the shoulder blades retracted or squeezed, and then that extension shape up. Forward and back is possible at the rib cage as well. The back shape is moderate, but it's that rounding shape like this. Then the extension shape is pushing your heart forward, but keeping your hips back. One more time of each of those. Keep the shoulder blades in tight as you try to round through that upper back rib cage. And then press the sternum towards forward. Reset in the middle, add a little shake, and let's repeat the roller coaster wave at the rib cage. I'll start by tucking a chin and then pulling the rib cage to the hips or down. Then squeezing my butt cheeks, I'll push my sternum towards forward, then lift up and over as if to do a back bend, but then continue to pull the rib cage back onto those hips and repeat one more. Rib cage is down. The sternum is pressing forward. Moderate shape here as you do our back bend, and then pull the rib cage onto tall. Reversing the shape, let's go up first. And then from here, the forward. Easy does it. Pull down, lift the rib cage up, and then catch that wave or the top of the roller coaster as we go up and over one last time, ensuring the shoulder blades are stiff or protracted, flexing through the core, and then extending through the spine, nice and tall. Shake that out. Let's go back to the chair. No crash bangs as we sit down on that chair, as we'll pull ourselves, maybe check that it's still there for you, to the ground. From here, let's return the feet into our parallel position and practice the tall sitting. It's pulling the feet back, slight anterior tip of the hips where your tailbone is reaching back or the front of the hips is going forward. From here, low effort, lift a single leg of your choice. Bend at the knee and try to touch the other leg with the bottom of the foot. Then keep the knee roughly in the same position and gently try to take the foot away from center. Holy cramp, perhaps. Then again, repeat. Foot towards the leg on the ground. We're sitting nice and tall. And then that internal rotation on the hip, taking the foot towards the outside, politely cramping up on the hip. Repeat one last time as we'll go foot to the leg on the ground. And then the other shape. And breathe. Return the foot to the floor, perhaps return back to center, integrate that tall sit, and repeat on the other side. Hip flexion first, tailbone reaches back and lift a foot away from the floor. Then bring the knee out or the foot to touch the other leg. Then keep the knee where it is and very casually rotate in on the hip, foot away from the body. Repeat, control, fluid efforts as we can, embrace the crampiness, but stay away from the Charlie horse. Foot in, great, then slowly turn the foot out. Knee is staying in the same place and that rotation's happening in the hip. One more time, or at least trying to happen in the hip. The external rotation, the foot goes in. The internal rotation, the foot goes out. Embrace that crampiness, place the leg back to the ground, and then in a wide stance or a parallel stance, core brace, extend the hips through and assemble with our wiggle. One more theme park for the head, neck, and then that rib cage, and we'll take it on the Ferris wheel. We'll start with the head. It can slide to the left and the right. Moderate efforts always, pushing, sliding and gliding. Your chin stays on the same level, reaching sides. Then same thing here. It can go front and back. The forward head, neck, text posture, and then the retraction or the chin tuck. If we put that all together, we can go on that circle, drawing a circle around the hips or on the floor. Hands in tight, core tension helps. I'll slide to my right first. Slide your ear towards the right. The pretend shape might be enough. Then I'll be going counterclockwise here as I reach to the front. Across the front, I'm at 9 o'clock or lateral here, and then reaching out the back. I can change the voice a little bit, and then reach to the side, and then return to center. Let's switch. Here I'll shift my head, neck left, and then going clockwise from that 9 o'clock to midnight, midnight to 3, rounding out the back at 6, assembling at 9, and returning to center. One more time, switching our direction. We'll go to the right first, to the front. Counterclockwise, think slide glide. It might sound like snap, crackle, pop, or Rice Krispies. Aim to smooth that out and create a small shape that's safe first, and then expand. Last time here, to the left, and then clockwise for me as I go from the left to the front to the side, side to the back to the side, and return in the middle. Add a wiggle to reset, and let's do that same effort through the rib cage. Shoulder blades stay still, butt squeezed, slide and glide that rib cage away from center. If we're having a tough time doing this, and you placed yourself against a heavy wall or even a chair for some feedback, keep your hips touching that wall and try to slide your rib cage the other way. A couple times in a row, maybe turn around and do the same thing, but keep the hips in the centered position and reach that rib cage in a lateral shift. Then we can do the front back. Let's keep the shoulder blades retracted. Push the sternum forward and round through the back. Moderate rounding shape, particularly if the shoulder blades are squeezed. One more time, we'll reach forward and then round, keeping the shoulder blades back, and then reset in the center. Final effort for that theme park ride merry-go-round with that rib cage. Hands in tight, butt squeeze. I'll slide to the right first. Sliding to the right, we'll go counterclockwise, so from that 3 o'clock position towards midnight. Midnight towards 9, 9 around the back, keeping the shoulder blades in tight, and then return to the original lateral side of your choice, and then return to center. Then shift, hips stay still, shifting the ribs the other way, then reach to the front. Front, check, midnight. Then 3 o'clock, that lateral right, check. Then scoop around the back, shoulder blades retracted, and then original side lateral to center. One more time each way, slide to the right, pushing the sternum forward, moving counterclockwise around that clock face on the ground, pull in the back, return to the original side, and center. Final repetition, slide to the left, or that 9 o'clock position for me, and then moving clockwise around the clock, squeezing the butt, bracing the core, utilizing those abs to stabilize and mobilize this movement. We'll return to that original lateral, and then center and reset. One more time from seated on the floor. Excuse me, it could be the floor, but that'd be really hard. Seated on your chair. Make sure it's still there. Pull yourself down with tension like we will in our sumo squats later, and then nice and tall in center. We're doing all this to take our socks off. Do you have your socks on? Take your socks off with this drill here. Taking our socks off, simple task, but not easy. From seated, that would require us to plant one leg heavy, check. Flex the hip on the other side, check. Rotate in the hip, check. And then use your strength and place it there. Now that that foot is on the foot is on the knee, let's assemble the other leg in a straight shape and practice that tall sit. With low effort from the hips and no extra weight from the hands, press the leg from the hip to the floor. Then pull the opposite knee to the shoulder. This is my left leg pulling up and over towards connecting to my right shoulder. Then I'll lower that drawbridge down, pressing towards the floor, and repeat an effort or two more. Reach out of that hip, up and away, reaching that knee towards the opposite shoulder, and then with tension but some control and relaxation all at the same time, lower that drawbridge back down. One more time, we'll reach up. We'll push down. Groove out that shape in the hip. Finish by pulling that knee towards center. Without it being a slingshot, unhook the foot off the knee, and return it to the floor. Did you take your socks off? Good. I didn't have socks on. But again, make those simple movements like taking your socks on and off, nice challenging movements to wake up the muscles of the core and the hips. Other side, take a leg, press down heavy. Take the other, flexing on the hip. We do the rotation on the hip next, the knee draws out to the side, and then find that strength or the assistance and place the foot on the knee. From here, we have that dorsiflex ankle and we're practicing our tall sit. No extra pressure from the hands, but could that knee press from the hip, reaching towards the floor. Then scoop down and away and bring that knee towards the other shoulder. Breathe. With tension control and relaxation all at the same time, push that knee back to the floor. Repeat. Pull out of the hip, going out there to bring it back towards that opposite shoulder like our seatbelt, and then reach out of that hip, pressing away. One more full round, we'll reach out and up. How's that hamstring and glute feeling on the lateral part? How's the core feeling? Hopefully active. We'll press the leg back down one last time, and then lift it up with control. Unhook the foot with control. Take your socks off if you haven't, and then return the foot to the ground. Stand up, shake it out. I hope that feels like a lot of work for doing little movements for the hips that'll show up in your life, even maybe when you take your socks off. I still have my chair, and we'll use it as we go forward with today's practice. Perhaps the chair is too high for you. Recommend that ottoman or just a single step. Here we are going to practice our Captain Morgan's and hamstring stretches for the hips. Face your chair with your apparatus out in front. Your quads are parallel across and your feet are parallel pointing forward. You'll have to shift your weight. So I'll shift my weight to my right leg and without drawing my knee forward, bend on the knee. Either the pointed foot or that karate foot are appropriate. Take your time and then flex the hip and place a single foot on the box, the Captain Morgan. Stay where you are. I'm going to do a quarter turn here so I can say hi and check out these hips from the front. With the shoulders staying steady, could you hike a hip to oversell the unlevelness in the hips and then depress or pull the hips back to level so that your belt line is more level? Repeat, a hip hike, and then that pull down. Next, with both hips, do our posterior tuck or bringing the front of the hips towards the back, and gently as it does, anterior tip, tailbone towards the back. Repeat, tucking under, scooping under the hips, cramp the standing leg butt cheek, perhaps open up the stretch in the front, and then as you tailbone tip away, it probably is sensational through the hamstring group on the elevated leg. Return to a centered position, casually as it goes, bend the knee, returning the foot to the back or the quads parallel, and then slowly straighten through the knee. Let's repeat that effort on the other side. The quads are level or parallel across the front as we bend the knee. Then pull the knee through into that hip flexion, placing the foot on your apparatus. Shoulders stay, hike a hip, and then depress or pull down to level it out. Repeat again. Hip hike and pull down. One more time, hip hike and pull down. Then with both hips here, scoop, tucking under, and then both hips tip, tilting away. Couple more of each as we tuck under through the hips, tip away, and then one last repetition to tuck under on the standing leg. With low effort, bend the knee further, extending the hip to have the quads parallel, and then straighten out the knee and reset. Nice. Now, let's do that again. Same deal from the hip flexor. Return to the original leg you stood on, bend the knee. Bring it up, elevate. For now, I want us to only pretend. I'll take my right leg that's connected to the floor and drive it through, squeezing my butt cheek. Then in a pretend fashion, could you lift the elevated leg? Keep the foot suctioned to your apparatus, but try to pull up and heighten that awareness of the groin tension and the hip extension on your standing leg. Relax the effort. Repeat once more. Pull up, push down through your leg on the ground, and with the foot suction to your apparatus, try to lift it, making it exceptionally hard or challenging and live on the hip flexors and the adductors. Relax the effort. From here, we'll bend the leg, extend the hip, quads parallel, straighten the knee. One more time on the other side, repeating. The quads are parallel. We bend a single leg and flexing on the hip, foot to your apparatus. Are the hips level? Are they tucked? Are they nice and strong? Squeeze your butt cheek on that standing leg, pushing the hip forward, and with the foot suction to your apparatus, try to lift it off. Breathe. Create tension. Pretend for now, and then on a bike or on a run or anywhere else, add this tension to help your hips. Chill. Stay. Squeeze your standing leg butt cheek one more. Pretend first. Try to pull that leg up and away from the box or apparatus of your choice, and to keep pulling. Breathing. Relax that effort. Gently kick your bum, returning the leg to parallel at the quad, and then extension through the knee. That's the Captain Morgan version for today. We'll come back to that chair for a standing hamstring stretch in a second, but until then, it's time for the Awty shoulders that I like to do from our sumo stance. Palms face forward. Cramp up those elbows with the triceps, stiffening the arm like an oar. Then elevate the shoulder and pull down. Push the shoulder rounding forward or protracting, and then retract through the shoulder blade. Bend on the elbow. Are the hands straight laser beams through the elbows, or are we bent? Check in that we have nice straight lines going through the elbows to those fingertips. In our W shape, elevate the shoulders as to shrug, pull back down. Now wrap those shoulder blades around the body, pressing forward, and then finish in our retraction. Extend the elbows to assemble in your T shape, palms facing forward or slightly turned up. Elevate the shoulders again and pull down. Protract forward and then retract. From here, the T shape towards your safe Y, and at the Y, we'll elevate and then pull down and pull forward and retract, and then flex, pulling, bending through those elbows, returning to the W, and then extend on the elbows, returning to the A, shake it out, and we'll come back to the shoulders in just a second. But now it's the hamstring stretch from standing. Step one little step back from your box. As allowed, let's bend the leg, keeping the quads parallel. Flex the hips so the foot's out front, and then straighten through the knee. Before we do anything else, are your hips facing forward? So I'm going to stay where you are. I'm just going to do a quarter turn. From here, we've we're up. Where are your shoulders and hips? This is a little bit of an oversell here, but my shoulders and hips are facing there. My head's facing forward, so rotate to have your shoulders face forward. Then check in on the hip and pull that hip that the flashlights or the headlights or the hips, whatever we're going to call them, face forward. That probably tensioned up your stretch without doing anything else. Stay there for a second, point the foot of the elevated leg like our ballet foot, and then pull into that dorsiflex shape. Repeat. Are those hips square? Shoulders square. Slurp into the center. Feel the adduction tension and the stability required on the standing leg. Then gently bend the leg. Extend the hip to have quads parallel, and then straighten out through the knee. Repeat on the other side. It's a little bit of a weight shift. Then the bend, then the hip flex, then the gentle straightness of the knee up top. Overselling my leg is forward, but most other things are out to the left. Go head center. Check. Then, what about that rib cage? Put that on square as well. And then perhaps final close up through that hip. With the hip closed, dorsiflex or pull the foot to the shin on that elevated leg, and then point. Repeat again, dorsiflexing or pointing, and then take a visual check. Are the hips forward? What about that rib cage? And lastly, that head neck. Casual, but with tension and control always. Bend the leg, quads to parallel, and then straighten out the knee. Let's repeat on the other side, adding on. It's the knee bend, the hip flex, the extension, and down. Check in that we're square, nice and tall. Then, if we set up a hinge, super small, press your hips to the back, but keep this hip, in this case my right, forward. I don't need to go much or far, and that's a really incredible stretch on my hamstrings. Push the hips through to tall, take a breath, and repeat. This hip on my right, to keep it forward as I press my hips back. Small ranges are going to amplify that tension, particularly if we're staying square as we stretch. Assemble in your tall position, and let's repeat one more time. I keep moving my leg to center. It's likely to want to turn out. Very moderately rotate that femur in. Keep the hips slip to center. And for the last one, a very casual hip hinge, emphasizing that this hip stays forward. Return to tall. Easy does it. Bend the elevated leg. Quads to the parallel position. And straighten out. Weight shift, that's inevitable. Little weight shift with a bum kick. Then flexing the hip, placing the extended leg then on your apparatus. Keep this hip forward. Keep the elevated leg slurped in. Then if you need more, push the tailbone back, but emphasize this hip staying forward. Hold for a second and extend to tall. Repeat. Hinge. Keep driving that single leg on the ground forward. Avoid a rotation. Embrace the hinge in that stretch. And then extend the hip to tall. One last time. The hips are scissoring in or staying nice and tight to the adductor line. And from there, embrace that stretch. Extend the hips with control. And bend a leg, kick a bum, and straighten out the knee. Shake, wiggle. We'll keep the chair for some leg bars in a second. Keep it right there for a moment. Let's return to your sumo squat stance, and one more time with those shoulders. Start in the A shape. This time, we'll elevate the shoulders as a shrug. Let this scarecrow shrug win, and try to touch the floor, but don't let it on account of your super strong upper trap muscles. Try to touch the floor. I hope that energizes your armpits. And then relax. Now overbuild this that you're trying to touch the floor, anchoring down, fingertips towards touching the ground. Now let your super strong lats or armpit muscles work. Try to shrug up, but don't let it. Build that tension and stability through those lower traps to not let your shoulders shrug. And relax. We'll repeat that one more time. Elevate the shoulders, easy does it. Let the scarecrow shrug persist. Keep elevated, but try to touch the ground by pulling the elbows into the body, stiffening the elbows with the triceps, activating the armpits, and then relax. Is that Renal Lauren? There she is. Painting, painting, painting. One more time, we'll reach down those fingertips towards the ground. Stiffen the elbows, let those anchors win, and then try to shrug your shoulders. Let those scap depressors or those down muscles win, but activating the up against the pulling down. And relax and shake. One more time with that same effort, but this time with your hands facing out forward. The shape will be modest, so let's do this together as our arms out front with the elbows extended, round through the shoulder blades, pushing forward. Keep rounding, but try to pull your shoulder blades together. Create that isometric or suspension and tension through the shoulder blades for strength, control, and then relax. Now, retract the shoulder blades as to squeeze a pencil between them. Straighten those elbows. Let that retraction shape win, but try to touch forward, energizing the underarm pit nature of this movement. And then relax. One last time, reach or round forward through the shoulder blades. Let the rounding shape win, and try to squeeze the shoulder blades together for 5, 4, 3. Then actually let them retract by pulling them together. And the final effort is to keep the retraction in place and reach forward, but don't let it move. Cramp up those elbows, shake just a little bit, relax the effort, and return the hands to the hips with the wiggle. We have our bars, we have our chairs, we have our bars, we have our chairs, and here we are working on our leg bars next. Stand tall on that inside leg and take the outside leg, in this case my left, and point it towards the front. Rotate in and out of that hip. We did that same activity from seated, so finish in a turn out. Then open to the side. Turn in, turn out, turn in, turn out. The hips are stable. The leg bone is moving in the hip socket. Finish turning in, and then complete that round or circle towards the back. Flex over toes and pull forward. Repeat to the back. To the back. Are you straight out the back, touching 6 o'clock if the clock was midnight front, and 6 to the back? Then turn out of the hip. Reach that leg towards the side with the inseam forward. And then that inseam will turn towards in as you approach the midline. And then pull a straight leg underneath. Let's repeat that one more time. The hip that you're standing on is tense and straight and strong. The leg that moves out front crosses your midline by 1 millimeter, then open up in the hip. Take it out to the side with that inseam forward, and then hide it to turn the corner, inseam down, reaching around the back. Then flex over the toes, bring the leg right underneath of those hips, standing tall always. And then lead with the articulation through the foot, reaching to the back with straight knees. Then open up in the hip to the side, from the side to the front, and the front underneath, always finishing nice and tall. Repeating that effort on the other side for 2. We have stability in the one leg, stability in the hips, and then mobility in that other hip. Tall as we are, reach towards front, slightly crossing the midline. We can turn in and out and out and in here. Then finish with your turn out and reach towards the side. Same effort. We can turn in and out and a couple more maybe, but finish on that turn in as you reach towards around the back, straight towards 6 o'clock, midnight front, 6 o'clock behind, and then over the foot and under the hips. Repeat to the back with our toe point, hips forward, straight knees. Then turn out of that hip as you reach to the side. The inseam's forward at that place. And then as we reach to the front, the inseam will hide itself or turn in and pull the foot back underneath. Repeat one last time as you reach to the front and then open in the hip, sending the hips forward and the leg to the side. Then turn in on the hip. Try to touch those outer edges of the clock face there as you reach around to the back. And then flexing over the toes, bringing the leg underneath, nice and tall. Last time to the back, we'll articulate through the toes, open through the hip, the leg out to the side, and from the side to the front, and underneath, always assembling, tall. We'll add on to those a little bit later, but now let's just get to the floor and fold and plank. If you stand against your wall or your chair here, Utilize the fold and avoid moving or pushing into the wall or the chair. Hands can be across chest or just on legs. No matter where they are, keep the shoulders back. Tuck the chin. Take a breath and start your fold from the top down. Shoulder blades are back, adding that rounding shape. Easy does it. I might need to move away from the wall a little bit too, and then slowly end up in your fold. From there, walk out to your all fours position or 6 points of contact. For today, let's just take your left hand and pull it to the right knee, and take your right knee and pull it to the left hand, and relax. Same thing on the other side. Press down through the right hand and down through the left knee, and then pull into center on this X pattern across the body, and relax. Now can we do both of those at the same time? Right hand to left knee, left hand to right knee. Keep pulling on this X pattern for 5, 4, 3, and then relax the effort away. Repeat one more time. Pull hand to the opposite knee, and then set up the tension on the other side. You're pulling your left hand to your right knee, your right hand to your left knee, and then relax that tension away. From here, tip your tailbone to the ceiling, push the floor forward and lift the knees. And then walk yourself back to your folds position, tucking in the chin, and with strength and control, pull yourself back up to tall. And then shake. Step away from the chair. One quick movement clock here for today. Let's start by drawing a knee up in the front, pointing, landing toe ball heel, and then pushing forward to return. Same leg, knee to the front. Open that 1/8 of a turn to the 10 o'clocks position, point, and then land toe ball heel, and then push and under. Knee front, now knee side, then straighten and land toe ball heel, press, assembling tall, knee in the center, knee to the side. Now we turn on the standing leg, point, land toe ball heel, and then push, assembling tall. Lastly, it's that butt kick from the original stretches. Then tap the toe down in the back and pull yourself back and push yourself forward. Same effort other side. Hip flex in the front, straighten the knee, land toe ball heel. Then push forward to go back. Then up, then out. Point, land toe ball heel. Press away to tall. Up in the center, and then out, and then point, landing toe ball heel, and press. And then up in center, knee to the side, then we can turn on that standing leg, point, land toe ball heel, and press. Lastly, the knee bends, foot touches down in the back, pull forward, and then push back to assemble in our tall position. Let's return to the floor for one more time here through the fold. Use that wall or chair apparatus to condition ourselves to avoid the hinge and to stay stacked up and down like a candy cane or a hook. Shoulder blades back, chin tucked to start, flexing through the body in the rib cage. Breathing, always. Now that we're down, just hang out, stretch out. From there, walk out, hands to the ground, knees to the floor, and one more time on that plank. Stay in the 6 points position or assemble in your high plank, and for 5 seconds, pull your right hand to your left foot and your left foot to your right hand, and then relax. Same thing other side. Pull the left hand to the right foot to that left hand, and then relax. Now do both at the same time. Pull the right hand to left foot, the left hand to the right foot, and oh my goodness, what are you doing? Good. Think about it. Then gently knees down. And breathe. Avoiding the rounding child's pose. If you feel the need to go back, it's the tailbone tip and go back. One last time in that plank. Up nice and tall. X patterns. Pull the right hand to left foot, left hand to right foot. Keep your breath. Keep your brace. Keep going. And then from there, raise your tailbone to the ceiling. Press the floor away to assemble in your fold. And then chin tuck. Stack up tall. The head neck is the last to get tall. One more movement for today with the chair, lift-offs for these side hips. Start with the standing leg extended nice and tall and reach a single leg to the side. Most likely the inseam is forward, so gently turn that in. Standing tall, reach that single leg across the floor as if to touch my imaginary training partner over on my left. Does that burn these hips in a polite way? If so, keep doing it, and then rest. In the rest moment, could you push the hip forward 1% and then turn in on this leg out to the side? Continue to reach away. Create tension across those hips. Lateral bum cheeks work to move the leg out there, and then this front muscle here aims to roll that hip in. Stay there and chill. Now pull that leg straight always, keeping it rolled in on the hip, and touch these ankle bones underneath for 5 seconds. The foot could hover off the floor, hug that center line, and then relax in center. One last time, final movement for today, same thing on the other side. The hips are forward and the leg reaches to the side. Most likely, the inseam's facing forward. Gently roll it in, keep those hips square, and from here, I'll try to touch off the screen to my right. Stay stacked on the hip. Keep rolling in, femur on the other hip as you reach away. And then relax. Hips through. I feel a little cramp coming in, so just settle into that and breathe and try again. We're rolling in on the hip. We're trying to reach away from the body here. Reaching away, rolling in, hips through, and then relax that effort. And for the last one, the hips are through, the knees are straight. We're rolled in on this leg out to the side. Then reach away, pressing into the floor and away across. Create tension on those hips. Then pull in, keep rolling in on that hip, and now touch those middle ankle bones or calves or knees together for 5, 4, 3, and relax. Thank you very much for joining me here today at Bars and Bells Restore and Recharge. We, being Laura and I, are excited to continue this new time for our same favorite exercises, 9:30 on Fridays. We hope that you can join us live, provide us some questions in the chat, or send us a direct email to ask about today's practice. If you're not a member, thank you for being here, but we hope that you could become a member to support your strength and our practice with an online membership for $25 a month. barsandbells.com/membership. Thanks again. My name's Ian. We'll train again, and I look forward to staying strong, training soon, and having a great weekend, whatever you get up to. Have a good day. Goodbye.